I've put thousands of 22 LR rounds downrange over the years, but a handful of them still catch me off guard with how hard they hit. If you think rimfire is just for backyard plinking, these rounds will make you rethink everything you thought you knew. What's up, everyone? This is Ted from Line 45, and today I'm giving you a rundown of the wildest, hardest-hitting 22 LR loads on the market, because not all rimfire is created equal, and some of these hit way outside their weight class. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below, the subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This is not necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable gun-related content on your screen. Now, buckle up, and let's get back to the video. CSI Stinger, the speed demon of rimfire. Anytime someone asks me what 22 LR rounds actually surprised me on the range, the CCI Stinger's always near the top of my list. This thing flat out moves. We're talking about a 32-grain copper-plated hollow point that clocks around 1,640 feet per second out of a 16-inch barrel. That's not just fast for rimfire. It's faster than most 380 ACP loads. The muzzle energy comes in around 191 foot-pounds, which for a 22 LR is really something else. You can feel the crack when it exits the muzzle, and if you're running steel targets inside 50 yards, it hits with an edge you wouldn't expect from such a light bullet. What's wild about the Stinger is how it performs past the muzzle. The light projectile and high velocity give it a flatter trajectory than almost any other 22 LR load, especially under 100 yards. When you're taking shots out past 75, you notice how little you have to compensate compared to standard 40-grain loads. And despite being light, this round expands nicely in soft tissue and performs well on small game. It's popular among varmint hunters for a reason. In semi-autos, reliability's solid as long as you're not running a super short barrel. I've fed it through everything from Ruger 1022s to Smith & Wesson Victory pistols and even a suppressed Savage bolt gun. The Stinger's not a gimmick. It's a purpose-built, high-performance load that shows what .22 LR can really do when it's pushed to the edge. Let's move on to a heavier hitter that trades some speed for more punch. CCI Velociter, the heavy-hitting workhorse. If the Stinger is your lightweight sprinter, the Velociter feels more like a seasoned middleweight brawler. It's a 40-grain, copper-plated hollow point that still zips out of the barrel at around 1,435 feet per second. That's serious speed for a full-weight 22 LR, and it translates to right around 183 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. What makes the Velociter stand out isn't just the numbers, though. It's the balance. You get reliable expansion, consistent penetration, and enough mass to make a clean pass through a small game without fragging into pieces like lighter loads sometimes do. I've used this round on more than one pest control run. Rabbits, groundhogs, squirrels, everything under 20 pounds drops with authority inside 75 yards. Expansion tests in gel show the Velociter opening up reliably while still digging deep, even through barriers like heavy fabric or light bone. You're not going to get the same ultra-flat flight as the Stinger, but that extra grain weight holds its energy a bit better at distance and bucks wind slightly more efficiently, especially out past 50 yards. As far as cycling, it runs smoothly in most semi-autos. I've used it extensively in a suppressed Ruger Mark IV and a stock 1022. No feeding issues, no stovepipes, and that heavier bullet means you're getting good blowback even on finicky platforms. If you're looking for a do-everything 22 LR that actually delivers on performance, whether you're at the bench, the field, or the back 40, the Velociter is hard to beat. Next up, we're going to crank the velocity dial even further with a round that's known to break the 1,700 frames per second mark. Aguila Super Maximum, velocity beyond limits. The first time I dropped a box of Aguila Super Maximum into my range bag, I was just curious how it'd behave in a bone stock rifle. What I got was an earful. This is a 30-grain copper-plated round nose, and it's no slouch. It's pushing 1,700 feet per second out of a rifle-length barrel. That makes it the fastest commercial 22 LR on the market today. You're looking at muzzle energy around 192 foot-pounds, putting it right up there with the CCI Stinger despite using a lighter bullet. But velocity isn't everything. What really makes the Super Maximum stand out is how aggressively it behaves on target, especially in soft tissue or gel. Because of its light weight, it delivers rapid energy transfer, which is great if you're going after varmints at closer ranges. It'll fragment more than something like a Velociter, so it's not ideal when you need deep penetration. But for quick knockdowns under 50 yards, it's got real teeth. That said, It's a little picky. This round can be temperamental in some semi-autos, especially with tight springs or short barrels. In bolt guns or tuned platforms, though, it performs loud and proud. I've had the best luck running it through a Marlin Model 60 and a Browning Buck Mark with a match barrel. If you're chasing speed records with 22 LR, you won't find a faster off-the-shelf option. But when you want something built for match precision instead of raw speed, you're going to want to take a look at what Ellie's got going on next. Elay Force. Match-grade muscle in a rimfire package. Ellie's been in the rimfire game longer than most of us have been alive, and when it comes to consistency, they're one of the names I trust. Their force line isn't just for punching paper. It's designed for shooters who want competition, grade precision with the added bonus of a little extra push. This is a 42-grain round nose, high-velocity load rated around 1,250 feet per second, which gives you roughly 146 foot-pounds of energy. No, it doesn't break any speed records like the Stinger or Super Maximum, but that's not the point. What you get instead is outstanding group tightness and minimal deviation shot to shot. I've run Ellie Force through a custom Kid 10 22 build with a 20-inch barrel and seen quarter-inch groups at 50 yards. No exaggeration. In NRL 22 or rimfire bench rest, that consistency matters more than raw velocity. And because it's a heavier round with a solid nose profile, it holds on to its energy just a bit better once you push past 75 yards. I've also seen it run reliably in semi-autos with match chambers, though if your rifle's oversprung or dirty, it might need a little tuning. Ellie Force isn't what you grab for backyard plinking or varmint busting, but when you're shooting for score or bragging rights, it earns its keep. The people who swear by it aren't chasing flash. They're after results. But if you're looking for an everyday rimfire that still hits hard without draining your wallet, Remington's classic Golden Bullet deserves a second look. Remington Golden Bullet, the everyman's power pick. This one brings me back. I've gone through more boxes of Remington Golden Bullet than I can count, and it's not just because it's affordable. The high-velocity hollow point version, which is 36 grains moving around 1,280 feet per second, is more than just a cheap plinker. It strikes a balance between cost, function, and surprisingly decent performance. You're looking at around 131 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, which puts it ahead of most standard 40-grain target rounds, and it expands reliably at short to mid-range, especially on small pests. Now, I've heard shooters knock Golden Bullet for being dirty or inconsistent, but that really depends on your setup. In a clean Ruger 10-22 or a well-broken and Browning Buck Mark, I've had zero feed issues. It's the kind of round you can run all day, from plate racks to gopher patrol, without burning through your premium ammo stock. Is it as accurate as Ellie? Not even close. But that's not why you buy it. You get solid performance, decent expansion, and it cycles in just about anything that says .22 LR on the side. Golden Bullet is the one you toss in your truck bag, in your range gear, in the can under the workbench. It might not have the flash of the boutique rounds, but it gets the job done, and that counts. Still, for those looking to squeeze real defensive utility out of a 22 LR, there's one load specifically engineered for that role, and we're going to cover it next. Federal Punch, built for self-defense. When Federal announced a 22 LR load specifically engineered for personal defense, I'll admit I raised an eyebrow. We're used to seeing 22 LR as a trainer or a varmint round, but Federal Punch rewrote that script. This isn't your typical hollow point. It's a 29-grain nickel-plated flat-nose bullet designed to drive deep, not expand. The idea is simple. Get enough velocity and sectional density to punch through FBI-style gel out of a short-barreled handgun. And they nailed it. From a 2-inch barrel, it hits around 1,070 feet per second and still manages 74 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, which is surprisingly potent for rimfire. What matters here is penetration. In calibrated gel, Punch routinely hits 12 inches from compact 22 LR pistols, like the Ruger LCR, Taurus TX22 Compact, or even the Beretta Bobcat. That meets the FBI's bare minimum for defensive use. I've put rounds through my own TX22 and was impressed by the consistency, clean feed, no stovepipes, and a sharper bark than you'd expect from such a small round. Look, nobody's claiming this replaces 9mm or .38 Special. But in situations where recoil sensitivity, age, or physical limitations rule out centerfire, Punch gives people an option that isn't just better than nothing. And for those running suppressed platforms or backup rimfire pistols, it gives you peace of mind that your round will do its job if it ever has to. Now, before I wrap this up, I've got one more contender, which is a load that's been quietly doing solid work for decades. Winchester Super X PowerPoint, the classic that still hits hard. Every shooter I know has a soft spot for the old-school yellow box, and inside that box, the 40-grain PowerPoint still holds its own in 2025. This is a traditional soft lead hollow point that's been around for decades, but don't mistake age for weakness. Out of a rifle-length barrel, it clocks in around 1,280 feet per second, putting it right on pace with most high-velocity 22 LR loads. That gives you just about 145 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. What makes it different from the copper-jacketed hotshots is how it expands. This bullet mushrooms fast and wide, which makes it brutal on small game but also surprisingly controllable on paper and steel. I've shot PowerPoints through everything from a Henry lever action to a Ruger American rimfire and seen clean, predictable hits every time. The accuracy is solid. It's not match-grade like Ellie, but plenty good for hunting or ringing steel at 50 yards. And because it's a full-weight 40-grain load, it holds up better in the wind than the lighter, faster stuff. You'll notice less drift if you're shooting out past 75, especially in breezy conditions. It cycles just fine in most semis, though blowback guns like it a little cleaner than bolt or lever actions. For the money, it's one of the more consistent hunting loads in this category. It may not scream high-tech, but in terms of performance, it's a quiet powerhouse and it keeps showing up because it works.